Our latest Webflow campaign is AI Guy, but really it's about owning your narrative. This is a social first campaign, and we're really personifying AI answer engines using Richie Moriarty, who is on CBS's Ghosts. He is, well, how we're personifying AI, an overconfident, flawed, and occasionally wrong. It's like that intern that like is just so confident. Like initially we were thinking like a cousin Greg from
Sure,
Succession. Like
Succession.
someone just like shows up and is like,
Mhm,
yeah, totally. I know everything. And it's like
mhm,
you're not questioning where they're getting the information and things along those lines. And we're seeing that in AI. I think personally, I've seen it so many times. Like I've asked, like, can you help me like understand the ending to this book? And I'm like, the hallucinations are crazy. Or even like, I don't know. I don't have that
yeah,
information. And so
mhm,
by personifying that element, we are kind of like showing like the hook is that AI guy is struggling and where he's
mhm,
getting this like information around brands. It's hilarious in
mhm.
reality. And we a few of like the key touch points that really get me excited is the idea that some of his information is coming from like LLM jazz. Like he's just kind of making it up as he goes along. And I think that it helps you feel like you understand what's happening, even though it's like a human that's playing
Mhm,
ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude in the moment. So we the biggest thing for me also is I come from a social background and making sure everything was built for social first. And there, while we have the video ads out now, we are thinking long term how we build this out, how we build out a liminal world of of like personifying the issues that people have with tech,
mhm.
um, and how we as Webflow can help solve those problems.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me was how funny it is and how
Yeah.
much you're willing to play along with what people are already thinking about AI anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's be upfront about its flaws, about how it does
Yes.
hallucinate, how it doesn't know everything all the time, but how it pretends to, you know?
Yes.
Unless you then like push back and, ask it, actually, is this true? Like, where did you pull this from? Where did you get this context? And then they're like, oh, yes, you're right. I had to make that up,
Great.
right?
Great
But it
job.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
the best.
Yeah, exactly.
M dash,
Yes,
M
the
dash.
exactly. The sycophancy is like another
Yeah.
thing where it's like, it's always gonna be agreeable. It's
Mhm.
rarely gonna push back. It makes you feel like you're brilliant, which some of us could, use a little less of.
I don't need to be told I'm awesome all the time.
Exactly. No, yeah, I need you to, like, be upfront with me.
Mm.
About like what works, what doesn't work. And I think this is becoming more and more important as we use AI more, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's in my process. I use it, right? I use, the various ones. I go from Claude to ChatGPT depending on like which one is better at the time.
Mhm.
There is no loyalty to a particular chatbot. It's like you
Oh, I've got
choose.
loyalty.
Yeah, oh, really?
I hang out with my buddy Claude all the time. Like Claude's my
Now or
boy.
like has
Like,
it always been Claude?
uh okay, this is something when I think about like brand awareness and like
Yeah.
how you think about brand. I have been Claude from like the get-go. There was like an
Interesting. Yeah.
ethics element there where they're the ethical AI. I
Yeah.
don't even know if they say that anymore, but I got started when they were like
Yeah.
really calling themselves out,
Yeah.
Anthropic, as like the ethical AI.
Yeah.
And I haven't like again, I don't know if they market themselves as that anymore, but that stuck in my head. I
Mhm, mhm.
started using it. I love having conversations with it.
Mhm,
And like
mhm.
I do feel like it has learned how to talk with like me. It's learned
Mhm,
how to
mhm, mhm.
like really use my feedback. So yeah, I'm a Claude fan, but Claude also again like can't give me all the answers that I want a lot of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And
So we
so
have talked about how they are positioning themselves to be, slightly different, whereas ChatGPT is more of a catch-all, like Google type. You have
mm,
Claude, Anthropic being more for like artists, like the people that are building, like, they set that store up in the pop-up in NYC where it's like, a thinking cap, right? And are kind of going for more of that type of positioning for themselves. And you certainly see that in who uses them. I'm not surprised actually that like
really?
I hear more marketers use Claude because kind of that's where they kind of see themselves. But anyway, point
Yeah.
is that like Webflow has kind of done a really good job in like personifying that and bringing that to the fore. And I like the honesty behind it because it's more of a like, hey, we get you, we totally
Yeah.
understand what you as a user are going through because we also go through that with
Yeah.
like the chats themselves.
Mhm.
So it makes it more relatable to people. And
Yeah.
I think that that's part of what is missing right now with a lot of like ads like and
Mhm.
campaigns that are going on. We you know we've been talking about this where there's so much like rage baity content going on, where it's like I think there's gonna be a change in that, and so I'm happy to see, like, Webflow is actually falling into the, like, we're doing more, like, empathetic marketing of, like, what people are really thinking about, what they're going through, and not just trying to piss them off in order to, like, use us as, like, the default.
I do find that there is, like, maybe some right, but a lot of the time what I see in B2B is people are like, "Here is exactly what our product does. Let
Mhm.
us give you," like, in any of their commercials, it's just so specific, and it doesn't hit on the actual pain point, and I
Yeah.
feel like if you're talking about the pain point, you're going to like, people are gonna feel that, they're gonna have empathy for that moment
Mhm.
versus us telling you, we can create the schema within our product that will get
Mhm.
you to show up on all of these platforms. Yes, that is included within the ad, but more so we're
Mhm.
showcasing what happens if you don't use Webflow.
Yeah.
Like your brand is not going to show up. It may show up, it
Mhm.
may show up wrong. So I'm showcasing what happens if you don't use us. And
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
pain point, I feel like captures people's heart a little bit more.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like that's
Yeah,
what really
definitely.
excited me
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
this perspective. I think the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
thing that really excited me is like the agency that we worked with is New Motion. Christina Garnett, I know that
yeah.
you've had on the
Mhm.
show.
Yeah.
She's their chief customer officer, and they're someone that I used regularly at Salesforce as well. And like they were like they brought me some scripts and they said like they told me afterwards, they're like, "We thought you were just gonna like cross things out and to be like, no, this all needs
Mhm.
to be like talking specifically about how our product works."
Mhm.
And I was like, "No, go further. Like,
Yeah.
let's like push this further. We are not trying to give people a product demo. We're trying to get
Right.
people's attention and get that point that they feel it." And they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, that's what happened? Like, that's why that's happening. I
Mhm.
understand that. I'm there for it, and it's making me laugh." And I think we see that across the board with brands and, like,
Mhm.
especially I think we talk about it all the time with, like, influencers, creators, where it's like we
Mhm.
get a script and then we, like, cross everything out and
Mhm.
say, like,
Mhm.
"Use our brief to the T." And it's
Yeah.
just the content and the conversation is not going to be authentic when you are not, like, letting the people that you work with kind of push.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing here to call out is that feeling of like what you're trying to create, right? I talked about this with Christina last time she was on, but I've been thinking about this more in the context of Monsters Inc., right? Where it's like we
Mhm.
had this whole idea that like
"Oh, we're going to
scaring
movies. We're
people
going
and angry,
movies."
yeah, yeah, that like the lessons that we learn as kids like
Yeah.
matter to this day. Angering people gets you a certain amount of like energy, right? But like the moral of that story was that like they ended up discovering that making people laugh got them more energy,
Yes.
right? And so like
Yeah.
seeing that like Webflow is like, no, let's make people laugh, let's give people a good feeling, you know. I had also brought up the Chevy ad. It was more of a like tear laugh crying, you know, because like
Mhm.
that was like it gave me the feels like in a different
The
way. And I think that
feels.
that's what's more interesting to me
Mhm.
right now, where it's
Mhm.
like it's related to the product, but it's not a product demo, right? Like
No.
it's
We
not
can
just
give you
like
that. We can give you that, but,
exactly,
like,
right?
that's not what you wanna see in your feed.
Exactly. So I think, you know, by being social first, you're
Mhm.
asking the question of like, what are people actually looking at? What are people actually wanting to have on their timeline? And it's not a product demo. I'll tell you that much, you know?
It's mostly cats for me, I'm just gonna be honest.
Exactly. Right. So cats, like, you know,
Yeah, we're
we talked to
competing
some of,
with cats and babies, and so, like, if we are
yeah.
going to give you a 5-minute demo of our screen,
Hmm.
like, bye.
Yeah,
Like, people are gonna unfollow, they don't want you in your feed. I think
exactly.
I know you love movies, so this is
Hmm.
how I think about my ad campaigns, and
Hmm.
I recently won a Webby with New Motion at Salesforce for our work with
Nice.
Corporate Bro, and I can talk about that as well, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking about world building. Right
Hmm.
now, AI guy is living in a liminal space.
Hmm.
We There are more characters, there are more people within that liminal space that we can
Hmm.
create a whole world. So we are world building here. It is not just a single ad. It's like how do we build additional characters? How do we build out this world that we can advertise in that like can be holistic, that people can feel like they understand these different characters that all live in one land so we can continue to build out like the same similar narrative and really own that narrative.
Yeah, I love that. I love, thinking about
We're the
that.
Marvel. We're Marvel. Just kidding.
Exactly.
One of the things that I thought Salesforce did so intelligently was they had this grouping of characters, Astro and Cody. Each one was associated with a different type of practitioner that was
Mhm,
using Salesforce. And these folks, these practitioners, this was their career. And they
mhm,
identified with these characters so much. They felt each character had a backstory, each
mhm.
character had a birthday, had a favorite movie. And again, like this was a bear with no pants on, but like people, all the developers were like, we are Cody. Like we have
Yeah.
the same values, those same things. We understand where Cody is. And that association with these characters allowed them to build out communities, to build out brand love in a way
Mhm,
that if you don't have like a specific association with part of the brand and like personify it
mhm.
or characterize it, you're not gonna get. So, like, I loved that, and, the person that created that is just, like, Dom, she's incredible, and how she really thought through how she was associating these different characters with these different people that were working within the ecosystem, and, like, I hope that we can create characters that people can associate with too.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit more about that. How did you
Mm.
kind of land on the flawed AI versus the typical AI's amazing positioning?
Yeah, I will not gonna lie, I got a incremental budget, and what they were
Mhm.
like, "So, this needs to all be spent in Q4, and so we need a plan by 2 days from now."
Yeah.
And I had worked in the I think I was, like, maybe 3 weeks into the job.
Yeah.
And what we really did first was like, we created a very, very in-depth brief. But beyond that, I have a trusted agency, New Motion,
Mhm,
that I've brought in. And I knew that we could do brainstorming with them. And I said, come back with like bigger ideas. I don't want a classic idea.
mhm.
And the idea actually did start with cousin Greg, and him being this characterization. Unfortunately, it did not work out with him, but we were really excited, with how it worked out with Richie. But,
Yeah, awesome. And so how did you land on Richie after Cousin Greg? What was that casting like?
well, we were looking okay, sorry, Richie, but I really wanted someone with a punchable face. Like, literally everything they're, like, bringing me all these folks, and I was like, "Not punchable enough. Don't wanna
That's
punch
so
him."
funny.
And, Richie actually plays this character in Ghosts that has, like he, like, has, like, a arrow through his neck, and he did improv with Caitlin at New Motion back in the day in Boston,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I know this guy. I know he could do it. Here's his photo, Marissa. How much do you wanna punch it?" And I was like, "No offense, Richie, but
Done.
super punchable." And it was great, and
That
he
must
was
make him
able to
so excited
he
that
doesn't
that's
know, like, even when
so
we were
funny.
looking, like, sets, they're like, "Chair," I'm like, "Ooh, that looks like an office chair," like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." And so, like,
That's
yes,
so
maybe
funny.
it's not, like, a regular, like, thing to put out there, but, like, punchable was what I was going for.
Well, there you go. It succeeded. How do you guys measure success for this type of like meme first campaign?
Yeah, I think it's like again, we actually launched the campaign on my 4-month anniversary, so I'm 4 months in.
There you
So
go.
we're definitely doing some brand surveys. We're looking, just how it compares to our previous CTV ads. Like, I feel like
Hmm.
CTV is really where this is gonna shine.
Hmm.
But also looking at, like, the measurement yes, brand measurement is an art and a science, and I actually lean more on the art of it. Definitely
Hmm.
commentary, qualitative, feedback is huge. But what
Hmm.
I'm also looking at it is how do we extend it? I think that that's one of the biggest measurements for me is how much can we get out of this campaign? What are the
Hmm.
additional assets and like ways to activate it? And I think the more we can do that, that's part of my measurement.
Yeah, I like the idea of like how you're thinking about it as like a world and like a liminal space that you're building because otherwise, and a lot of companies do this, right? Where it's just kind of like the one and done, and then
Hmm.
use that as like the scoring and seeing how you measure it, right? But this way, it's like it's because it's an ongoing campaign. It's gonna be coming up, like, more and more, and people are gonna start to recognize, and then eventually it's a long-term play of, like, brand awareness that you've been
Yeah.
building, both for, new customers, but then also current customers as they start to relate more and more to, like, the characters themselves.
Yeah. And seeing how we're going to activate that at our customer events and like
Mhm.
kind of bring it into the wild, wild west.
Yeah, definitely. And then what pushback did you get internally for satirizing, AI while selling AI adjacent features?
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Our feature is like the biggest thing that we have a unique capability in is that we are set up within our Webflow tool to build out your schema for AEO. So we are
Mhm,
literally satirizing what happens when you don't use Webflow. So
mhm.
that wasn't a real pushback. We definitely had some areas where, like, I definitely got a question like, "Have you really heard them say that they couldn't find the brand before?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I have
Yeah.
experienced this." And so
Yeah,
there definitely was, like, a few questions like that.
yeah.
Uh, but I think, like, being new to a company and having like, I'm not gonna lie, my boss is, like, the best ever, and he trusts me, but I still,
Yeah.
like, brought him along,
Mhm,
um, and having those regular conversations with him, we moved really fast, but we didn't move too fast that we didn't have time for feedback,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
we made sure that we brought the right people to the table, so we had that feedback loop throughout.
Awesome. And then in terms of January timing, was that intentionally,
Q4,
counter-programming?
Q4, let's go,
Yeah, right.
let's go. You know what? It really it was like there is like Q4. So people are building their budgets out
Mhm,
for the next quarter. I know I
mhm,
am. And like
mhm.
let's get in their ears. Let's get in their ears. And I think one of the other things is that, I was at Salesforce for 12 years and I'm still building out, my brand team at Webflow and like we are pushing. And there's definitely going to be like hits and misses throughout that, but like I'm excited to move fast but intentionally. I wanted to
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, I'm not going to start just in like go do what you've already been doing. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not just gonna continue this. I'm gonna try something new." I'm not gonna lie, Grace, who is my head of integrated marketing, she started a month after me, so, like, we're just running fast, getting things out, and, like, intentionally getting things out, but, like, definitely moving fast and trying things.
I love that. Well, congrats on the campaign. It was a lot of
Thank
fun, and I
you.
love to see, companies moving in the direction of making things more fun and making people laugh
Yeah.
and not just pissing people off.